Hi. Hi, is everybody? Happy Wednesday. It's Something Wednesday. Let me know if you guys can hear me loud and clear. It's the Dana with the Data podcast. So I usually start at 9, but on Wednesdays now I move it to 8. This should be a good time because I want to keep it 8 or 9. Do y'all like my hair? I got it braided yesterday with the little curls so it could give it a little feminine cutie touch. Honey, because I gotta go to the gym. Yes. Um, gotta lose weight. But anyway, hi everybody. So tonight's topic, honey, as you can see in the title, Diddy denied bail. That's the first thing we're gonna talk about. I do have a panel. The new party is back. I like the new party podcast. And I have G Rich, Mr. Gavin. Every time I say Gavin name, I be wanting to call him Gavin Newsom. And he's a lawyer. So we're gonna have us a little, legal expert on the show tonight. And we got to talk about Kamala Harris at the National Black Journalists Association. I'm gonna play a couple of clips. She's pandering for black votes, which she is, because there are a lot of black people that are not voting Democrat for president this election. And good. And then we're going to sprinkle towards the end, of course, the illegal migrants. Did you guys enjoy Monday's show? Monday's show was fire. I'm going to upload those clips starting tomorrow, honey, because we had Mrs. Lewis, Mrs. Jackson, and honey, they're from Chicago, spitting all facts and fire. So those clips will be uploaded Thursday, Friday. And yeah, so let's get into the show. Any other announcements? Yes. Please share this video, like the video, right? And hello to everybody on X, honey. Yes, please repost on X. Comments. I love everybody in the love room. Hit that like button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. If you have a question or a comment, it'd be nice if you could send it via Super Chat. And I do want to say thank you to Black Mama, honey. She sent me a lovely Cash App last week. And there's a couple other people that sent me Cash App on off days, and I need to acknowledge them as well. So your donations is highly appreciated. But most importantly, I do want your presence. So let's get into it, honey. Let me bring the first person who is always here early on time, honey, Miss Nora. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. You look beautiful. I love the braids.
So do you. I sometimes do play favoritism, and you're my favorite.
Thanks. You're my favorite too, Dana.
So let me bring in my least favorite. Oh, is D White joining us?
He should be.
Oh,
this is no football night.
Oh, it is. Wednesday is football night for him, for the kid?
No, he's a couple minutes late, he said, but he's coming.
Oh, okay,
so
that's
he
fine.
Should be. Yeah.
Well, let me bring, I don't want to say my least, but this is, okay, let's just say my least favorite person when it comes to political views.
Yes.
Gary.
Let me turn my camera. Dana, you look great. I hope I can become your favorite. He's on the way. For sure. I enjoyed the spaces last night.
Oh, yeah. The space last night, it was good. It was popping. I have to do at least 4 hours because I used to try to just do it for 2. It don't work out that way. Yeah, but the X space, that was really good last night. I appreciate you guys coming through. So how you doing? I keep calling you Gary. Gray.
Yeah, I had my real name on a Twitter space last night. But
yes.
I'm doing good. I've been watching the case.
They call you Gary. Did Gary take his allergy pill yet?
Listen, Clockwork, since I was a kid, elementary school, people always said, "Oh, you sound like you got a cold." And then when Gucci Mane came out, everybody was like, "Oh, you sound like Gucci Mane." So I guess Gucci Mane as well, sounds like he's sick. So, it is what it is.
All right, so I don't see none of my mods, but I am going to pin you guys YouTube video YouTube channel link in the chat as well. And let's bring up our legal analyst tonight, honey. Yes, Mr. Gavin.
What's going on, Dana? How you doing, panel? Nora, Gray, how y'all doing tonight?
Good. How you doing?
See you, Dana. You look lovely. I love the hair.
Thank
But
you.
Really,
So,
you thought you were gonna when you introduced me. You thought you thinking of Gavin Newsom.
because of your name, yeah.
You should at least say Darren McGavin or Gavin McLeod, not
Who's that?
the father from the Christmas Story and the Love Boat Captain.
See, no, I don't. Nobody knows him. Nobody knows him. And you showing your age right now, Gavin.
I wasn't even born when the Love Boat went off the air, but
exactly. Yeah, and Gavin has an old soul, but you are a lawyer.
I am.
And we're going to be talking about Diddy, and we all have our opinions. Tuesday afternoon, me and the judge went live to bring the U.S. prosecutors press conference after they arrested Diddy, Sean Combs, and he broke down. Judge Joe Brown broke down the indictments, and so Tuesday afternoon, the first judge denied bond, and his lawyers did a bond appeal. Right. And they got in front of the judge today. I don't know this judge's name, but this judge today that reviewed the bond appeal is the judge that's going to be judging the trial. And he denied the bond appeal. Right. He says he's too dangerous. The chickens have already come home and roosted, and everybody had their feelings. So Diddy is done. However, we do have this justice system, this legal system that, we have laws, but I'm starting to think that media and personal opinions are dictating some judges' reactions. So, and then we're going to talk about it. And I did send the link to More Blacks for Trumps. I don't know if she's going to get in time enough to come on. And of course, we're waiting for D White. So let's get into the Diddy thing. Let me see. I'm going to pull up some stuff here.
That judge was Judge Andrew Carter, by the way.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you. While I pull this up, let me start with you, Nora. What are your thoughts so far with this whole Diddy situation and he being denied bond again?
Well, I would like to start by saying I personally don't know if he's guilty or not, but I saw the video that he did to Cassie, and it was disgusting. There was no justification for what he did to her. However, two things can be true, right? I do think that he has upset the wrong people and they're teaching him a lesson. I mean, his children have given up their passports. His mother has given up his passports. Where's he going? I mean, none of his family can leave at this point. I don't know, I've talked to federal agents and I've been watching other podcasts, and they all thought he was going to get bond. I mean, it was $50 million. He was willing to put up his house. I don't think this is unheard of. I mean, the fact that they have 5 AUSAs prosecuting him is like, I've never heard of that. I mean, 5. I mean, and the conviction rate is 95%. So I think he's done. I think the best thing he can do is start giving up names so he can cut a deal.
Oh, go ahead, guys. And this is so tonight. Well, let me just say this. I'm not going to call on people to talk. Just jump right in.
Okay. I think it's just such a high-profile case, and that Diddy has the resources to leave the country and never be seen again. So I understand why they would deny his bond and why they would say, okay, it's a big possibility that he won't come to court and he'll try to escape justice.
Well, I would say to that, I just want to respond a couple of things. Well, Diddy had already surrendered his passport. So being that he surrendered his passport, he did it voluntarily even before any indictment, any charges were going to be filed. He did it formally at the advice of his counsel, Mark Angelifo. And so he wouldn't be fleeing the country necessarily. Now, what bond is, just for everybody knows, what someone gets bail or bond. A bond is basically money that you put up to assure your appearance in court. That's what the purpose of a bond is. In my understanding, Diddy they offered his mansion in Miami as well as his airplanes to be used as bond, and that was about $48 million. The judges said no, and their reasoning, the first judge, Judge Robin, and I can't remember her last name, but what she said yesterday, she said something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing, that these type of crimes, even with court monitoring, can still take place. And now this other judge has stated, well, there's nothing that supposedly can stop him from tampering with witnesses. So to me, they already in their minds believe Diddy is guilty. That's just from what my interpretation of it is, by not giving him any bond. I would reiterate to everybody, whether you like Diddy or not, is not the issue. What the issue is the law and what's being done. How they're charged him with this crime, with these crimes under the Mann Act and the RICO statutes. The RICO statute, and I said this to you yesterday when I was on your X Space, Dana, I was saying this to everyone. RICO was created to go after mafia bosses. It was created to go after like John Gotti or Russell Buffalino and Carlo Gambino, those guys, the Chicago outfit when they were skimming the casinos in Vegas. It was not designed for rock stars and rappers. And what I'm seeing, and it's not about whether I think Diddy is a good guy or not. I don't think he's a good guy. I don't know him personally. Yes, I was disgusted by what I saw in that video. But that, even with that incident that occurred, that to me doesn't arise to a RICO racketeering or Mann Act violation. In regards to the Mann Act, I'll make this point for those that don't know. That, of course, that law, the Mann Act, was created to go after Jack Johnson, who was the first black heavyweight champion of the world. When they couldn't beat him in the ring, they created that law. And the law basically is done to prevent, it was done to prevent a man from taking a woman who wasn't his wife over across state lines for immoral purposes. Well, if you think about it, a lot of men are not married and travel with their girlfriends who are not officially their wives. Can anybody else be charged with that? You'd have a whole bunch of people in there with those laws. But Diddy is basically the big fish. He's the one that a lot of these prosecutors, they're basing this on. I think the prototype for all of this stuff, of course, not outside going from Jack Johnson. Look at what they did with Dr. Cosby, going back retroactively numbers of years with some of these women with allegations that couldn't be proven in court because they were outside the statute of limitations. Here with Diddy, they did the same thing similar to R. Kelly. And again, yes, I know about R. Kelly's history. I'm not defending him, but did I think it was a RICO issue? Do I think it was a Mann Act? That some of the accusers, even in that case, were over age. And even with this case with Diddy, with the adults, you know, some of these people, again, are adults. Now, we got to see what the evidence is and what they're accusing him of, what they have that's effective. But do I think his career, I can say this, do I think from a public persona standpoint, basically court of public opinion, as you said, Dana, do I think Diddy is done? Yes. And I think it's also going to be difficult for him to have a fair trial because you have all of these people that have come out on X and on these podcasts, some people who know Diddy that have been talking about stuff. People's minds have all been made up. I mean, 50 Cent has always said stuff, and I think he's supposed to be doing a surviving Diddy documentary like they did with a surviving R. Kelly. So everybody gets moved by these documentaries, and we got to be careful with that because documentaries and court of public opinion should not be what sways our justice system. Our justice system is supposed to ignore all of that and follow only what the evidence is.
Well, I think what ruined Diddy was the video from the hotel, because people were saying before that video came out, we're waiting, we're not, you know, let's see, innocent until proven guilty. And that video was damning. I mean, there was no reason why he dragged that girl like that.
Yeah, well, the video was damning, to say the least. And yes, that changed people's perception about what happened. However, that crime that he took place would be a misdemeanor domestic abuse battery charge, or at worst, it could have been, depending on if Cassie had serious injuries, it could have been second-degree battery. I'm not licensed to California,
the video was not part of the indictment.
Correct.
But the judge and go to Inner City Press at Inner City Press on Twitter, because he was transcribing everything word from word what the lawyers and the judge were saying. The judge kept referring back to that video, and Diddy's lawyer kept trying to massage, well, it was a toxic relationship, they loved each other, and it's like, kind of move away from that. But I just felt it was so ironic that the judge kept referring, and the judge determined no bail because they're saying due to that video, he said the prosecutors laid out a case that he is still considered dangerous. So
and he's dangerous. Can he tamper with witnesses? And again, I do know from that video. Now, there's nothing justifying what he did, but they were saying, I think his lawyer said she was going out of the hotel room with his $50,000 worth of clothes, and they had this toxic relationship. I learned that I think her husband that she's married to, I think from what the lawyer said, is actually the trainer that Diddy had gotten for her and so forth. So yes, they have those. That's what was told, and I was listening to the X Space. I don't want to say nothing that is not officially true. Maybe I'm wrong. If it is, I'm sorry. I'll look it up again. But that wouldn't surprise me, because that goes on in those types of Hollywood relationships. And they were in a relationship for 10 years. Now, she obviously, even if you looked at her lawsuit, and I'm not saying she wasn't a victim of any domestic abuse. I don't know that for a fact, other than what I saw in the video in that instance, but she certainly was a part and looked and participated in some of these parties that were there. She witnessed some of this stuff. So for 10 years. Now, she's not being, and I believe she's probably, Dana, one of the I think she's a cooperating witness in the case. They haven't named her, but it looks like it is her, because she said she's been cooperating.
So, for me, the video shows her credibility. That's why I keep talking about the video, because before we saw the video, they had, they leaked that document when she was threatening to sue him or whatever, the one where they got the settlement. And she talked about all those things about the drugging, the freak offs. And then when the video came out, she also talked about the video that proved her credibility. So that's why I think they keep talking about that video, because it shows if she's telling the truth about this, she has to be telling the truth about these freak offs and him drugging people.
And Gavin, you were saying before, and there's the lawyer on the call, that the court of popular opinion and what documentaries and stuff gets put out. But isn't the court process supposed to be that the jury, because I don't know if it's a jury case, but that they don't know anything about the case and they can't have any knowledge of what happened prior to them actually going to trial?
The jury cannot consider. They're only supposed to consider the facts and evidence that are introduced to them in trial. They are not supposed to consider anything outside of that. However, it's very difficult now because we have social media. We have, this thing is everywhere. Everybody has seen, the stories. That even happened with R. Kelly. I think in court, they were asking people, the potential jurors, if you saw the video or if you saw the docu-series, and I think a bunch of the jurors raised their hands and saw it. So, at the same time, people have their prejudice and bias. All people in juries do that, but they are supposed to, by law, consider what the facts and evidence is. You can't convict somebody. The video with Cassie, and I know the sister brought it up, that is not what's in the indictment and shouldn't be considered. Now, it may, if they get her on a witness stand, they might use that to show, well, he has this violent past and so forth. Possibly it can come in. But remember something, it's outside the statute of limitations. He was not formally charged and prosecuted with it, unfortunately. And that's where that is. So there's a pros and cons thing that judges would have to weigh, especially if it comes to evidence and videos and so forth, whether this will prejudice the defendant, because the Constitution is at play at all times. The Fifth and Sixth and 14th Amendments, especially in our court system, and the Eighth Amendment as well, which is cruel and unusual punishment. Is it right that he doesn't get bail? He could appeal this again, probably to a higher court if he wanted.
I think his lawyer said they are going to appeal it to the Second Circuit or something. So I want to play this clip, though. I want to play this clip of Gene Dill from Art of Dialogue. I would say he's been doing these clips, I think, for the past 2 years. Very insightful. And then I have a couple questions that I want to ask the panel and, of course, the audience as well. And I thought I saw D White in there, but maybe he dropped out. So, all right, let me play this clip real quick.
Some dudes belong in jail based on what they do and how they do it. We know that to be true. And it's just this situation, man, when they get down to all the facts and all what happened, he may belong in jail, bruh. And that's not my doing. That's not Cassie doing. That's his doing and his learned behavior from the people that mentored him. You got to realize, man, he learned from Andre Harrell. He learned from Russell Simmons. He learned from Clyde Davis. You understand? When those people are telling you that they were heavy into the drugs, they was heavy into beating women and doing things at that age, at that crazy stage, that's going to make him think that he could get away with the same thing that they was getting away with back then. You understand? The things that he was saying, you know, the touchy-feely between two men and all that stuff like that, man. All that, he learned that from them dudes. When I told y'all the story, when me and my man went up to Russell Simmons and he had a house and he had a man in bikini drawers in his bedroom, in his bed. You understand? Bruh, this is that he learned. I'm assuming he learned it from them. Let me put that. And I'm not going to say alleged because I saw that for my own self. My man was with me, Slick was with me, and we saw that for our own self. You understand what I'm saying? So these are behaviors and things that with drugs and all the stuff that's going on, pills, drinking, it can make this man into a monster, and that's what it did, bro. It made him into a monster, bro. What's happening to him now is one of the greatest tragedies that we're gonna ever read about, bro. This is going to be one of the greatest tragedies that Shakespeare couldn't write in Richard. He couldn't write it in Macbeth. He couldn't write this shit in Romeo and Juliet. This is going to be one of the greatest tragedies of hip hop, along with Pac's death, along with Big's death. And he brought it on himself.
So, 2 questions I want to ask, and I'm gonna put the poll in the chat. And I know majority women are going to be upset with me, but first question: is Cassie a victim? And the second question: is Diddy a monster? She's not a victim, and yes, for me, Diddy is a monster. What say you guys?
I want to say, like, you know, when Mad Day comes in, Day in a Million Head, I actually watched this video right before we got on the call, so I kind of already knew where you was going. But with Cassie, she did all this stuff for Diddy, and basically these freak offs, messing with these other guys and all this stuff. He didn't marry her, and then basically she go with the trainer and she's broke. So I mean, like with a woman and you didn't pay her no money, Diddy should have paid her in the beginning, and then that was the quickest settlement in history. So I did see on Real Life Street Stars with Jaguar Wright. She said Diddy was used and abused by the people that gave him these labels. So hurt people, and they say it's a cycle when stuff like that happens to people. So I don't know if Diddy is a monster, but he may be inflicting stuff on people that was done to him. And Cassie, I feel like at one point she was a willing participant, but once she was done, she wanted to be compensated for what happened to her, like I think any woman would.
Okay, so do I think Cassie's a victim? No. But do I think that she was in an abusive relationship? Yes. Do I think that she should be compensated? Yes. And I'm going to tell you why. From what multiple sources have said, He railroads these people's careers. He blackballs them. So at this point, she has no career. And multiple people are saying that, not just her. The Danity Kane chicks, Mace. A lot of people have said when Diddy is mad and done with you, he blackballs you. For that reason, she deserved compensation. Do I think it's millions and millions of dollars? No, I don't think she was worth millions of dollars. She was a one-hit wonder. Diddy put her on, in my opinion, because had it not been she's Diddy's chick, she wouldn't have been going to those parties. So do I think she's a victim? Again, no, but that's why I think she deserves compensation. Now, moving on, is Diddy a monster? Yes, but I think he's one of many monsters. We got Clive Davis. Allegedly, I heard Jay-Z's in the mix. I mean, people are saying Jay-Z is in the mix, unfortunately. Allegedly. I'm just saying what I've been reading all day. And Jaguar Wright has said it. Jaguar Wright, people may not think she's credible, but she said a lot and it's come out to be true. So I think he's a monster, yes. But again, Cassie's not a victim, but she got what was coming with that settlement because he blackballed her career.
Okay. Well, my comment on this, and I hate saying this without proof, I'll just say this much. I think Diddy is a punk. I think he's a punk and a spoiled brat. I think what he did, of course, to her was wrong. And, in terms of what we saw in the video, absolutely. At the same time, do I think she was necessarily a victim? Not necessarily, no. In regards to, depends on what scenario and what you're talking about, because in first place, she was a willing, and from reading her lawsuit that I saw, she went to some of these parties and functions with him. Although she was a young woman, she was not a child. She was an adult. And let's just say this, there also has to be something about, and something that's missing in our country and our society today is accountability with some of these things. Because if you don't want to sleep with someone to advance your career,
Some dudes belong in jail.
Oh, thank you, Gene. Yeah, he interrupted me for a second. You don't have to. Just like with the movie Hollywood Shuffle, there's work at the post office. People do things and sleep. You do something strange for a piece of change. So they want to advance their careers. Now, to what the sister Nora was saying, there's no law that says that everybody has to work with you because they blackball you or they don't want to talk to you. It happens in Hollywood all the time where they blacklisted people. I mean, Eartha Kitt got blacklisted because she confronted Lyndon Johnson over the Vietnam War. Now, I didn't for a long time. Did I think that was fair that happened to her? No, but no one can sue. You can't sue RCA Records or any record company because she didn't get another record deal and if they didn't want to work with you. Now, I think what you also can do in situations like that is make your own and try and form your own company. Cassie, as you pointed out, yeah, I only know her for having one hit. And somebody said she was trying to go on tour. And I'm like, how? I couldn't believe that part. And I certainly saw he did pay her that money. And I think he did that as a way, like a lot of people with celebrities, a lot of people who have money, they just pay it to go away. Not so much that they're admitting guilt, but they don't want to be bothered with anything, because going to trial, going to court, there's always a risk associated with it. It's like surgery. Now, like I said again, I think Diddy is a punk. I really think he is. I think that was a scumbag move. Just like I think R. Kelly did some scummy shit. Excuse my French. I know you're not saying that. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want you.
It's the F word and the R word. But
okay. Yeah.
The difference between R. Kelly and Diddy is no minors in Diddy's situation. And so, and my next question is, did you answer that question, Gray?
Yeah, I answered it.
You did.
So I'm sorry, Dana, but even with R. Kelly's thing at the federal court, that wasn't minors either. If you look at it carefully. What happened? When everybody's going.
All right. No.
Sure.
Good point taken. Legally, I'm just saying overall. Excuse me.
That's
the whole their whole situation. The difference between the two is one was dealing with minors and the other one wasn't. I'm not talking about the case in front of the federal court. I'm just saying the whole situation. But the next question is enablers. Should the enablers be arrested? because I'm just tired of one person, R. Kelly. I'm tired of one person, Diddy or Harvey Weinstein or what have you. What about the enablers? Because Gene Deal talked about it in his video. He learned that is learned behavior. So first of all, let's say R. Kelly, the parents that will bring their underage daughters to this man, why they're not held accountable. The executives, their security, because okay, Diddy case is they're starting from 2009 to present. Gene Deal wasn't his security guard during that time, but he was doing the same things prior to that. What did you do then? You still stayed employed working with him. You didn't leave when you saw him abusing Kim Porter. Everybody hands are dirty. So why do we only see one person in handcuffs? Why do we only see one person being indicted or being questioned? Should the enablers be arrested as well?
I think law enforcement style is always to go after the big fish. Even if it's narcotics or drug enforcement, they'll get a crackhead and then they'll climb up the ladder to try and get the main supplier. As well as with Diddy and R. Kelly, they're the big fish. They're the people that's going to be on the news. And they know that these people, these lower level people, are just doing whatever they want to do to get money, fame, favors, opportunities. So they look at these people as victims because they're just trying to gain something from this celebrity. So they're enabling it, with your word, because they want to get something out of the situation.
I mean, yeah, the enablers that should be arrested. But I will say uniquely with this case, the first people that were arrested were the enablers. The guy that they alleged that was carrying the drugs around, he was one of the first to get arrested. So I do think that this situation is a little different because I do think more people are going to go down that work for him. And I see a lot of big names have been resigning, like Kevin Lyles just resigned from his company today. So I'm curious if this is connected to that. So I think this is going to be a unique situation because I think some heads are going to roll this time, unlike Epstein.
I definitely, well, enablers, what you call enablers, Dana, we call in the law principles and accessories. I know in common law states, they may say accessories before the fact. Principles in Louisiana, we say principles, which means they are people before the fact or co-conspirators. So that can happen. But the problem with that is you have to prove also if they were truly, and this is part of that RICO thing, what was the conspiracy and what were they doing and so forth. So to what Nora pointed out, I think she's talking about the one guy who got arrested for carrying cocaine. He entered actually what's called a diversion program because he had no prior. So that may not have even anything to do with Diddy. That could have been him enabling that. Now, whether he's going to testify or not, here's an important caveat. If he entered that pretrial diversion and someone from the feds offered him some type of deal to enter that to testify against Diddy, well, then there's something called the Sixth Amendment. There's also something called a case called Brady, two cases, Supreme Court cases, Brady and Kyles. The state or the government has a duty to provide that information to the defense that, hey, we got this person into diversion and they agreed to testify to that aspect and to against Diddy, because Sixth Amendment of the Constitution requires you to cross-examine any adverse witness. So that could be key. Yes, there could be a bunch of enablers there. We don't know. The attorney yesterday, Damian Williams, he stated that they were leaving the door open, but honestly, I think they're just going after the big fish. Look, they did this with John Gotti. Sammy the Bull testified against John Gotti, although he had to admit he murdered people on behalf of Gotti. He didn't do life in prison for that. So I think, yeah, they can definitely get arrested for it, but depends. We'll see what happens. I think it would be
Evan,
wrong.
do you think Cassie is an enabler? Do you think she should be arrested? I mean, because she was attracting these men, and then he was bringing in the prostitutes in, and whatever. I mean,
She
from
was
what I'm hearing,
making the phone calls, picking out the
yeah.
men to come in. Yeah.
It did. See, here's my whole thing with what they're alleging and the evidence. See, I don't even know if this is something that should even be charged. First of all, as RICO, because this sounds like the stuff people have been doing since rock and roll started, where they have groupies and people hang out with them, do drugs, and they go and have sex later. I mean, whether it's a Diddy, the most evidence that they have for me so far, other than that video with Cassie, is Diddy is a freak. He's a new kind of freak, and he likes baby oil. Apparently, he's the biggest customer of Johnson & Johnson products. That's what I think of what they've proven so far. Until, you know, they have the firearms, they stated they found. This is America. People have guns in their homes, and you have to verify whether it was his or not, or so forth. But, you know, I haven't seen anything as yet. I just have a problem with how they treat, how this is, we're treating rock and roll now with criminal behavior. I just, you know, I don't know.
I mean, there are some criminal behaviors that go on, but
a RICO? That's
right. It's like, it does seem like a far stretch. It really does. Next,
I think, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Dana. I think one of the things that we're not talking about is the Keefe D situation and all the things Diddy's attached to. Diddy has been accused of killing Biggie. Diddy has been accused of killing Tupac. Diddy's hands in the hip hop industry is on a lot of criminal stuff, some street stuff, not just the freak offs, but street stuff from the 90s, and then the freak offs now. So that might be a part of the RICO case, because remember, Keefe D got arrested. I don't know if it was this year, but it was recent that he got arrested and implicated in Tupac's murder. And supposedly, Keefe D was supposed to be paid by Aaron Von Zip, who's actually an associate of Mike Tyson, but he used the money to pay for a nightclub instead of giving to Keefe D for them killing Tupac when Orlando Lane was jumped at the Las Vegas Mike Tyson fight.
Right, but I got to say this though. What you're saying though still constitute, that's hearsay. It's alleged. It hasn't. We need something. It could have been true, because yes, I've heard rumors about Diddy being involved with Tupac's murder. People have said the same thing about Biggie, but it just hasn't been proven unless they have some hard evidence, unfortunately.
Yeah, but Diddy, they can't link him to the Keefe D case. That is two different things anyway, because somebody did ask the judge that, I think it was on the X Space or when we was doing the live on Tuesday, but I mean on Monday, but no, Tuesday we did the live. Yeah. But the live and the X Space, one of those, either was the live or the X Space, somebody brought up the Keefe D, and Judge Joe Brown said that two separate things, and they can't implement Diddy on that or something to that effect. Next question. The gender divide. So I noticed when we was doing the X Space last night, and guys, you could go to the Real Judge Joe Brown 23 on YouTube, at the Real Judge Joe Brown 23 on YouTube, and watch and listen to the X Space. I mentioned can you guys mute up? It's a little bit of feedback.
Yeah.
I mentioned the gender divide, emotion versus logic. TS in the chat, I did send you the link if you wanted to come up. You were saying some good stuff. It's the law, not your feelings. And I noticed with women, they're like, throw the key at him. He's horrible because of how Diddy treated women, Kim Porter, Cassie, and all others, right? I get it. But then you have the men that are saying, well, listen, you know, she got 30 million. It's a money grab, which is true. Or, you know, it's not about that. It's about the law. You're starting to see a gender divide, emotion versus logic, right? Because the law is the law and a crime is a crime, to whereas your personal opinion has nothing to do with the law. But you have the height of this Me Too movement is still relevant today. Women, especially in New York State, last year they had the look back law, to where if you dated a guy and you felt as though it was date raped, or I'm going to say date R, or just art, or sexually assaulted, or whatever the case may be, are violated, you could press charges. However, lawyers were not going to take your case unless that man was making $1 million plus or 500K plus. It was a money grab. So can you really take women too seriously? But I heard on the X Space arguments between men and women about this Diddy situation, you know, and how he treated women, and they are already labeling him guilty because of that, which is wrong. So do you guys see a gender divide when it comes to this Diddy situation?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I hear more guys saying she's not a victim and she's at fault. I've heard guys like really go in on her and like read some comments on Spaces. So yeah, I think that people are very emotional, but I think it goes back to prior experiences, right? Like if you had an abusive relationship in the past, this can be triggering for it. And unfortunately, like Gavin said, the court of public opinion, he's guilty because of that. So yeah, I do think there's a gender divide, unfortunately.
And like Dana said, with the Me Too movement and things that women have been saying about men, a lot of men afraid to throw rice at a wedding because they're scared they're gonna catch an assault charge. So just to say, like, the culture of what's going on with women is basically like, and I'm not saying this is because if you're a victim, but like women have been using police and the government as like a weapon to kind of control men or to kind of use as a threat towards men. And the courts know this. They know they go get restraining orders and use the police and all this stuff to manipulate men. But yet the Justice Department does nothing about it because they're afraid of backlash, probably them being held liable. And women have started just to use the government as a complete weapon.
I think there is definitely a gender divide in this country. I think we see it even with this current election that's going on as well. I know we'll get to that later, but with the Diddy Cassie thing, I think there is a gender divide that's going on with the Me Too movement, as Brother Gray pointed out. It has not just empowered. It's not so much that it's empowered women; it has made uh, women, and unfortunately, who are not usually victims into victims. In some instances, it's true that some things may have happened to them. I'm not denying that it is, but there are some things now where we're using it also to go after high profile, wealthy men, which is why we have to be careful, especially when we're jumping on these things saying, oh, he's guilty. He did. I know he did it. And your reasonings are because you think he had something to do with Pac's murder, or you think you didn't like his records or anything like that, or how he treats people. We have to be careful because when we get laws changed, like they've changed the law on the statute of limitations in different states, like the look back law in New York, also in California, it can open up doors that we otherwise would want closed. And we have to be mindful of that. And to NP, who said something about, well, this is a federal indictment, you know how serious it is. Yes, the Constitution is still the law of the land. Yeah, it's a federal indictment, but you still have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the man is guilty of what is being alleged. Lord, we have to hold our government officials, we hold them to a higher standard and what they accuse people of, because we can't have our justice system weaponized, going after someone we don't like. Now, again, I don't know what the evidence is that they have. Yes, I saw the photographs of the weapons, and someone pointed out, tell a New Orleans lawyer to say the weapons was the serial numbers were scratched off. The state has to still prove that. Fool, they got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt he scratched this off, or he had this in his possession. Did his kids have this? Who was there? Did it belong to the security guards? So all of that has to be proven.
Yeah. I want to play. I want to show this. This is his sons leaving the courtroom. This says Diddy's sons were seen exiting the courthouse after he was denied bond for the second time. So who is that? That's Justin, Quincy, and what's that? King, they call him King Combs. What's his other son
Yeah,
name?
Christian.
Christian. Yeah, Christian.
Someone said something in the chat that I want to ask Gavin about. They said that there is a gender divide even with his kids, because why did he only put the girls' names down and not the boys, Gavin? Is it because they're going to be charged too because they got arrested?
Put their names down on what? I didn't see the question.
So sorry, let me rephrase. They relinquished the passports, and only like I saw the document that was filed, only the mother, his daughter's mother, and all the girls, and even the little girl, but none of the sons' names were listed. Why is that? Is it because
I thought
because
they
they
all
got arrested,
did.
right?
I think the girls, if I'm
No,
not
the
all of them,
boys.
Maybe because they're minors. I
they're
don't know.
minors.
Okay, I see.
They're minors. And what he was trying to say, I think what he put the names down for, they were talking about how he wouldn't want any female company at the home. And what he stated was that only the females that could be there would be the mother of his children or the girls there. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is Diddy's mom is still around?
Yeah,
She's
I
still
think
alive.
she was named. Yeah.
I got a video clip of that. I just thought was really creepy, but I want to play this first.
So we made a bail appeal to Judge Carter. It did not go our way. The fight continues. We're not giving up by a long shot. I told Mr. Combs I'm going to try and get his case to trial as quickly as possible. I'm going to try and minimize the amount of time he spends in very, very difficult and I believe inhumane housing conditions in the special housing unit of the Metropolitan Detention Facility. And I'm going to do everything that I can to move his case as quickly as possible. I understand that the government has a great amount of electronic devices that they have to download and provide to me, but everything's on the government's timetable. Nothing's on the defendant's timetable, and they're going to have to accommodate me and him and give us a quick trial, and I'm going to be pushing for that. He's ready. He's focused. He has been ready to defend this case since he first found out about this case. Nothing has changed from his perspective. I obviously would much prefer to fight this case with him out of jail, and we are going to try to bring that about through additional legal process. But wherever he is, his resolve is the same. He believes he's innocent. I believe he's innocent, and we're going to fight this case with all of our might until we don't have to fight any longer. I'm not really going to take any questions, but at this point, we are moving forward. We're preparing for trial as we speak, and we are considering our next steps and appealing the court's ruling today. All right. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. You're doing good. So
he mentioned something when he walked off. He came back because somebody said something, and he added he was trying to get Diddy moved from Brooklyn to Essex County in New Jersey, which is downtown North, because they have a federal building and a federal jail there. Because apparently in Essex County, particularly North is in Essex County, it's easier for the lawyers to have easy access to their clients who are inmates, to where it's more of a hassle if he stays in Brooklyn. So the accommodations he was saying are better. So they're going to appeal the bond to, I guess, the Second Circuit or something. And he's trying to get him removed from the Brooklyn facility to Essex County, New Jersey, because it's a federal case. And I guess you could move around. So I wanted to play that. And I want to bring up his mom, a video that they did. Well, let me just play this real quick.
I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say them so freely.
Kid, I need to know.
You gotta tell him no. And just say no. When they say no to drugs, just say no to Diddy. So this is the video with him and his mom. I found this video.
Yeah, my mom's gorgeous. Well, let me introduce you to my mom, called Mom Dukes.
Hi.
She's getting a drip with me. She's hydrating. What's up, Mom?
Everything's good, baby. I'm here with you.
Yeah,
I love you.
I love you too. Mom, freshly dipped though. I was trying to show you. Yeah, my mom's is single. Mom's is single. I ain't gonna hate on my mom's. She's single. Me and my mom talked about one time doing a dating show with her. And she's so picky. She's so picky, they don't stand. But yeah, that'd be the funniest show in the world.
It will be, especially with me.
I don't even want to get started if she was doing that. We're not doing that. Cause yeah, my mom's single. Yeah, for real. Mom Duke know how to have a good time. She ain't sitting in the house playing. They outside moving and shaking, baby. She come with me to the strip club. I don't care. For real. It's my dog. You know, I want to live life. We out here moving and grooving. My mom told me, she just said, keep moving, baby.
That's right.
Keep moving.
Don't stop.
She could touch the floor with her palms. You know?
He look like he on that Tootsie.
Take pew pew pew.
His mom is the silver fox.
Yeah, so here's the thing. So, all right, so it was a friend of mine. She was like, it's this podcast girl, I forgot her name. She was like, oh, the mother's down with those freak offs because I get those transcripts. They said the freak offs, he wanted the women to have white fingernail polish and white toenails so that you could, I guess, glow, your feet and your nails could glow when they have, like, when it's dark or whatever. And the mother had white polish. But when I saw this and she getting the IV drip, and that came out too, he get IV drips after these freak offs so that he can stay hydrated. I'm like, the mother is down with the freak offs. She has to be. She has to be. You know, and it's not that she raised her son that way. That is the life. I don't know.
Well, she's damn near 90, so maybe she's doing something we all should start doing.
Yeah, but I don't know how long ago this video could have been 5-7 years ago. But she still look good though, either way.
Yeah.
Well, according to Mace, everything is in his mother's name, so she got the money, so he gotta be nice to her. And then Diddy's father was murdered. So I know she was like a very hovering parent because of that. You know, his dad was a street guy. I mean, I'm not saying her behavior, that excuses her behavior, but maybe the trauma caused her to be like, okay, you know, be super close to my son. She was a big reason why he went to Howard University. But I would never kiss my mother on the lips or, you know, film her body or something like that. I think that was a little too far.
I'm like, well, it was like a light little. I understand the kiss on the lip thing. As you did it when you were a kid, but you kind of grow out of that, and when you get older, you don't kiss your parents anymore on the lips. I don't know, but
I didn't see the feeling. I didn't see the part where he was feeling her up. I saw the kiss on the mouth, and I was like, ugh. But yeah, the mama. I don't know. Mama might have gone to some 70s parties in her day. She may have been at Studio 54 with the with Nile Rodgers and the rest of the children jamming to the OJ. I don't know. She could have been feeling up on Eddie Levert back in the day, for all I know. I don't know.
Who knows? But you know, I just thought that was, you know, weird in a way. Is you do too much partying with your son. You know, I get it, but I guess they're like, it's all in the family.
I mean, the strip club part was extreme too. You take your mother to the strip club.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not going to strip clubs with neither one of my parents. Like, even if it's me and my mom, no, it's not. The girls' night out. No, I don't want you with me. So yeah, she was down with the freak off. She was down when she could have been down, but I don't know. But all right. Anything else before we move on to Kamala Harris?
Diddy
And what happened?
named
Where's
his.
D White? I thought I saw him in there, and then he left. I was about to bring him up.
He says he's having some sort of computer issue, so he's in the
I do
chat
have one.
listening and
Oh, okay,
supporting.
okay.
I do
Cool.
have one point to bring up if I can. I'll be brief. If y'all look at that indictment, Dana, I mentioned this on the show. There's a provision in it called Title 18. It allows the government to seize any property that a defendant has. So they're coming to, if he gets convicted, and Gray brought this up, she has all the money. Be on the lookout. Don't be surprised if they come for Bad Boy Records, his royalty money, anything that he's owned. I know he sold that money. Remember, he sold.
But if he doesn't own it, because I do know royalties are in his kid's name, and a lot of stuff is in his mom's name. So who you got to sue, the mom or the kids? And if he has it in a trust, you can't touch that.
But they have a provision in the indictment under Title 18. If there was any monies, if he even converted it to a third party, they want to reserve their right to go after it. But they've done it before with trust money. Went after Joe. If you remember the boxer Joe Louis, when Joe Louis had IRS trouble, even though he forfeited his checks when he was in the Army to the United States, they still double charged him. They went after his kids' trust funds to actually get that one time. They will do what they can to try and get that money, even if it's immoral. Is it bad that they do it? Yeah. So just be on the lookout. There's going to be stuff now. They even tried to get R. Kelly's money from his royalties to pay the victims. A judge ordered that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My last statement about Diddy would be, he named his record label the perfect name because Diddy, you definitely are a bad boy.
Okay, that's like so ironic. Like that's a giveaway, Gray.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say before we move on, Nora?
Nah, we said it all.
Yeah. I think by the end of this week, Diddy's going to be old news unless it has to be something new come out, something new and exciting. But he gave a lot of people good content this week. I appreciate it. So
absolutely,
we got to get into Miss Thing. Where Miss Thing at?
Kamala
Harris.
Or as Judge Joe would say, that laughing hyena come Queen Harris.
Yeah. So guys, please hit the like button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Kamala Harris, she finally was interviewed by the National Black Journalists Association. Trump was interviewed in July. Was it July 31st? But the first assassination attempt was July 13th. And then he went to Chicago because that's where they have their annual convention. Jeez, that's where they had it at, and it was a hostile environment for him. Kamala Harris, she answered questions with them in Philadelphia, and I saved this clip here. Give me a second. I want to share this before I play a clip of her there. All right. Okay, that's commercial. Let's give it a second.
With a professional.
Harris Faulkner's with us now. I'm wanting to you, Harris. I didn't know they had two events ever. Maybe they do. There was one in Chicago 2 months ago. You were there. I'm going to play a clip in a moment here. Then the event yesterday was in Philadelphia. Both NABJ. with an audience. It seemed like yesterday's audience was smaller. I don't know. That's just based on what I was trying to gauge there.
What you saw in Chicago is their annual conference. So any venue that they would have booked by NABJ would have been much larger than, basically a campaign stop. And by the way, NABJ promised, it came out in all of its language, that this was a journalism event and that this was not politics. On all the campaign materials, this was a campaign stop. So that's, what did we get yesterday? We got more of what she says on the campaign. I was watching you guys earlier. You can do the side-by-sides and see how she keeps repeating herself and so on. My big question today is, and look, this is no disrespect to Eugene and Garen and Tanya who were doing the job. You did not have network anchors up there, though, who do TV every day. And it was a different feel about it, or at least do that pressure cooker type of what we do. Having somebody not answer our question and then pushing back, you didn't have that up there on that stage.
Okay, but here's what you had in Chicago. Okay.
We have a little bit of that?
Do.
Oh, yeah, it was very different for Trump.
Let's roll the clip.
Yep.
I think it's Rachel Scott, ABC, who leads off the question here.
You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you?
You were there.
I remember that moment so vividly because it was the opposite of what anybody would do. Anybody would show you civility. This was July 31st. July 13th, he had been shot in the first assassination attempt on his life. The journalist couldn't even start there with, we're glad you're okay. This is your first opportunity to talk with this group of people, and we're glad you've come today. You know that we're going to ask tough questions. You know that there might be some in the audience who wish that they were asking the tough questions right now. I think that's how you put it. The part that you didn't show was the very top of that when we all sat down first. And the comment was from the ABC News reporter there, this audience didn't want you here. Are you aware of that? I'm paraphrasing it a bit. It was actually a little less pleasant than that. But that was first out of the gate. So it was hostile. It felt like an ambush. And look, he took the bait. There's no denying that. It turned into, right off the top, a pretty caustic situation. But what would any of us do if you think you're walking into making history at the NABJ, not by digital, not in a city that you would choose because it's on the campaign trail, Philadelphia, not any of that, but you're going into the largest audience of Black journalists all year long. So that was big. So my big question for Kamala Harris is, why didn't you do better yesterday? I mean, it was a love fest. And it wasn't like what it was like for Trump.
Can I play one other part for this? This is call for number 5. This is one of the things she needs to do is try to win back support of some Black voters who said they're not going to vote for her this time around. Watch.
What is your message to young Black male voters who feel left out of this economy?
So I appreciate the spirit of the question, but I'll tell you, I've often been asked this question in a way that I've had to respond by first saying that I think it's very important to not operate from the assumption that Black men are in anybody's pocket. I'm working to earn the vote, not assuming I'm going to have it because I am Black.
So not policy specifics, but the tone and tenor of it, understanding that she needs to try to win their vote.
Yeah, her first words were, I appreciate the spirit of the question, first of all. What is she saying there? I mean, it's the National Association of Black Journalists. When I asked Trump the first question I did, I said, look, there are many Black communities. We're not all the same. We vote differently. We do things differently. I set it up in such a way that this is your audience. Why did she go there if she hadn't intended to talk specifically to a question that was asked about that audience? That was, look, if she didn't want to be there talking with whomever, that would be one thing. But Black men in particular are a soft spot for her. And part of it is the lack of specificity around the idea of economics and how to change life. And, for people who are really suffering right now. Another area that I thought was a tender spot for her, though, was the Palestinian situation. Hamas versus Israel after Hamas invaded and had a massacre on October 7th against the citizens of Israel. and they're fighting back. That's a war that the world would like to see come to an end. I'm sure Israel would too. They have to take out those killers first. So with all of that going on, she was asked, well, what specific policy change as president would you make in helping Israel? That was the question. She said, we need to get this deal done, and we need to get this deal done immediately. And that is my position, and that is my policy. We need to get this deal done. Yeah, they're not any closer to getting the deal done. So unlike Trump, when he's asked the question about how you bring both sides in the Ukraine and Russia war, for instance, together, he would do it as president-elect. It would be a phone call. You watched the debate, you know.
Yeah.
No specificity on a place where, did you know that Washington State has 100,000 uncommitted voters from the primary? Like, I get it from Minnesota and Michigan, but that's a number that, so she might have wanted to reach out to that. Bottom line is, nobody pressed her. She didn't feel challenged. She sat back, seemed very comfortable, and that was different than how they treated the Republican candidate for the White House.
She needs to answer more questions, and it might help her.
So I'm also going to play the actual clip when she started talking about Black men voters, because Black people as a whole, there's a large percentage of Black people voting Republican that's going to be voting for Trump on a national level for presidency at a higher rate than over 60 years, right? So, but majority of Black people are still voting Democrat. They're still going to support her, but Black men are the first ones jumping ship right now, and kudos to them. And it's time for all Black people to jump ship from Democrat and shift to, it don't have to be Republican, it could be independent, it could be Green Party, it could be whatever. So I want to quickly, if y'all wanted to comment on this, because I do want to play the clip when she is talking about Black men voters. So did y'all want to say something to this clip before I get
what I would say is, I know they're comparing the interviews, but essentially I feel like this would be if Kamala Harris went on Fox News. Like, she's not gonna get cuddly gloves if she goes on there. They're gonna answer the hard questions.
I totally disagree with you, Gray.
What was that, Dana?
I disagree with you right there. If she went on Fox News, how about she actually do that? Because at least with Trump, he goes on ABC and CNN to where those channels are pro-liberal, right? And they are so anti-him, especially CNN. But why don't she go to Fox?
Because the polling data that she's looking at is saying that she's headed in the right direction, so she doesn't have to make as big of a risk as Trump and go to left-leaning network to try to get more voters.
You serious?
I'm dead serious. She's leading 6 points right now nationally in most polls.
She's what?
She's leading by 6 points nationally right now in most polls. I think she's leading in 6 out of the 7 swing states, if I'm not mistaken.
What poll company is this?
538. I believe The Hill put out a poll. CNN, all the major polls.
Liberal media platforms.
Even Nate Silver, who
and I'm sorry, you are not above Fox News. You're supposed to be the president for all the people. So the people that watch Fox or any other news media outlet, you need to go talk to these news outlets. You are not above them.
So you telling me Jesse Waters, GM Pirro, and Greg Duffield will give
honestly, Harris Faulkner, and somebody put a comment in here. Let me tell you something. Don't talk about my girl. She is not insufferable. I love me some Harris Faulkner, honey. She's fair. She's fair and she's objective. And she's professional. So go on her platform, Black woman to Black woman, on 2 different sides, basically, even though she's still going to be objective. So I get what you're saying, Gray. And if that is the case, I believe you. That's the problem that I have with Kamala and that whole side. They think they are so above speaking to people that really don't support them.
Yeah. If I can comment, Dana, I just want to point out, I noticed at least this time she actually said she's Black than the other points.
Did she?
Well, she did. Yeah, she said, I am Black or something like that, if you caught it. So they probably reminded her, make sure you say that, like, because she didn't confirm it when Trump was talking about it at the debate and when CNN asked her that. And to Brother Gray, I just want to say this. When you said she's leading in the polls, what I've seen in the swing states, actually, that they've been neck and neck in terms of the polling. I saw that in the New York Times right around the debate that they had. So at the polls, and I have a political science degree myself, polls are always going to be skewed and favored depending on which one you're coming from, which ones you're looking at. In particular, I do know I was listening to Brother TD Hip Hop today, and he pointed out, I want to say this to you quickly, Dana, that Roland Martin was panicking because they actually did, I think, a Black Star poll, and they showed that a lot of Black voters are going for Trump, and they're actually seeing it increase in him increasing the Republican vote more than 3 generations. So really, you're talking about more going back as far as JFK and Richard Nixon, when Blacks were turning up even for Nixon at that time. It changed in the 60s in part because of Lyndon Johnson when he started to pass, sign bills like the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act and approving affirmative action. That's how that all changed.
Well, did you want to say something, Nora, before I play this next clip?
No, I agree with what Gavin said, that at least now she can finally say she's Black.
All right, let me get to this one.
Black. She was
Black
black
men,
at
as
one
you
point,
know,
but now
are
she's
a
Indian.
closely watched voting bloc. You've hosted Black men at your residence.
Yep.
You have engaged Black men and centered them in your economic opportunity tour. But polling shows that some Black men, particularly young Black men, are considering voting for Donald Trump, and they see him as better for the economy. What is your message to young Black male voters who feel left out of this economy, and how can your economic policies materially change their lives?
So I appreciate the spirit of the question, but I'll tell you, I've often been asked this question in a way that I've had to respond by first saying that I think it's very important to not operate from the assumption that Black men are in anybody's pocket. Black men are like any other voting group. You got to earn their vote. So I'm working to earn the vote. Not assuming I'm going to have it because I am Black, but because the policies and the perspectives I have understands what we must do to recognize the needs of all communities. And I intend to be a president for all people. Specifically as it relates to what we need to do, to your point around economic opportunity. Yes, I started way before I was at the top of the ticket at what I called an economic opportunity tour, focused on Black men. Understanding that, for example, we have so many entrepreneurs in the community who do not have access to capital, but they've got great ideas, an incredible work ethic, the ambition, the aspiration, the dream, but don't have the relationships necessarily. So my work has included, as vice president, getting billions more dollars into community banks, including working with the big banks to do that, so that we can increase access to capital for our small businesses, for our startups. Part of my plan under my economic opportunity plan going forward is that right now, startup entrepreneurs, small businesses only get a tax deduction of $5,000. Nobody can start a small business with $5,000. So I'm expanding that to $50,000. Understanding, again, that when people have the opportunity to have the resources to get started, they're going to put the good ideas, they're going to put the hard work into it. And
Where
I was into that. So.
Where I feel like she struggles at, me and Nora actually interviewed a guy named Kaizen last night. He's a life coach in California. He's actually a Harvard graduate. He's an Emmy winner. And he was saying all these bad things about Trump, but he's voted for Trump. But his reasoning was that he's voted for Trump because of authenticity, that Trump is this divisive person, but at least he knows what he's getting. And even though I'm blue, no matter who, I'll definitely be voting for Kamala. What I saw with this is that she has opportunities and she goes into straight politician mode instead of saying, oh, small business, instead of talking to the guys in the projects, the guys that's blue collar workers and talking about businesses. She needs to have a better message to these guys that are running to Trump because they feel a better connection.
Oh, it's muted. No, yeah. Did anybody want to say something else to this?
As Judge Joe Brown would say, word salad, Annie. She don't have a damn clue what she's doing, Dana. No, I think she's given a lot of talk. She has no policies. Remember, only before upcoming to the debate, Dana, did she upload her political platform to her website, which just was a campaign, a website to solicit donations. And she copy and pasted everything particular that the Biden administration had 3 years ago. And speaking of which, like Donald Trump even said at the debate, he called her out. I agree with him. Y'all could be doing this stuff years ago when you started. They could have secured the border when they had the Democratic Congress in 2021. They had that available to do all of that stuff. Everybody says this, and let me just call people out who failed civics because they say she's the vice president and it's a remedial position. It's not. The vice president is the second in charge of the executive branch. She's second to the president, but she is the president pro temp of the Senate as well. She gets to co-sign anything that the Senate wants. So that her party wants, if it's 50-50, she's the tie vote. So there are certainly things that she could do as president. Yes, Biden is the president of the United States, but we all know, especially now, since Biden is not seeking re-election, he was basically forced out, that the people who were running stuff wasn't Joe Biden. The people running stuff was Nancy Pelosi and the heads of the Democratic Party. That's who was running the White House, and that's what we're going to see again. So we're going to keep seeing the same stuff over and over again. Her job basically is to keep Joe Biden stuff, the Democratic Party's engine, to keep rolling. And a lot of us are waking up to it. I'm glad that a lot of these old Negro shills, I'll just call it what it is, are being phased out. This vote shaming tactic that they use, Dana, to get black people to vote, they use it to get them not to vote. They want them to vote how they want. And that's always been a problem for me, especially as a young man. You can't use fear tactics to scare young black men, especially in my age group, to vote blue no matter who anymore. You want to do that, fine. That's you. But you're not going to shame me into that. Otherwise, you either put some tangibles on the table, or we can sit at home. We can vote for the couch.
Well, I don't think we should vote for the couch because we do need to vote. Because the problem is, if we're not voting, then our opinions don't matter. So I'm not going to go as far as saying that. But what I will say is I agree with Gavin 100%. People are tired of it. They're disillusioned. The fact of the matter is the Democratic Party have had 4 years to fix this country and they've destroyed it. Gas is high, inflation's high, immigration is high, the border is open, and people are tired of it. And so I don't care what race she is. I don't care what word salad, what she's promising. It's time to show the Democrats that it's either shut up or leave. And at this point, it's time to go. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. They've had 4 years to fix it and they haven't.
I 1,000% disagree with Gavin and Nora. I believe that Kamala didn't have any agency as far as the vice president. That what the right is saying is that she was the border czar. She was also supposed to be this voting rights person. And Joe Biden ended up being the person to sign the executive order for the border. And basically with voting rights, they're still trying to pass the John Lewis voting rights. And as far as like shaming on black people for voting for the Republican Party, is that you're looking at the people who actually vote for Republicans that typically, I'm just saying that demographic, they're not going to have a black person at the barbecue. So I understand where people are coming from where they're saying, okay, why are these black men doing this? I mean, Gavin, you seem pretty educated and you're a lawyer. You may have financial reasons to do it. But as far as these guys in the streets and the factories and the projects that are making under $400,000 a year, to tell them, hey, go vote for this rich man that's going to cut taxes for the rich, I completely disagree.
Well, let me say this. I didn't endorse any president yet. Someone said Gavin is a clown. Let me just say, I don't care if you like me. I like me. I'm entitled to my opinion like everybody else. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the person in the chat, Gray, because you were looking like that. No, I'm not talking about someone said that. But what I'm pointing out and what I mentioned, because Nora said about, well, you can't choose the couch or anything like that. W.E.B. Du Bois in 1956 wrote an editorial about why he chose not to vote in that presidential election with Dwight Eisenhower. I can't remember who the Democratic nominee was, but his reasoning was very simple, is that they were not dealing with the racial issue in America at that time, and Black people were suffering. So sometimes to send a message, some people may say, you know what, you don't respect me, and if you're not providing anything for me, I'm going to not do this. Now, I'm not going to support you. Now, I will say this. I do think it is important that Black people also put that, yes, I'm not against voting. I vote myself, but I also think we should, yes, go to the Republican Party and give them what our platforms are. And there have been attempts to do that. And my understanding, even though Ice Cube is a celebrity, you know, and a lot of people, I don't like celebrities talking for me necessarily, but there were things he said I agreed with. I haven't heard Trump come up necessarily with a Black agenda as of now. I know he had one previously in 2020, but I'm waiting for him to announce and do something, or if he has anything with that. I can tell you, I am dissatisfied with the Democratic Party. And the reason why I go harder at the Democrats, Gray, is because we vote Democrat all the time. We're voting Democrat all the time. We are the consistent base for it. Black women are the consistent base. And yet when we ask for stuff like what happened in California, we don't get that, like what they had the reparations bill out, but they approve, like they're doing in Chicago and New York, the stuff for illegal immigrants. You have monies. We have homeless people. We have homeless veterans that don't get resources. And we're giving this to people who enter this country illegally. If you come in the United States across the border without going through the visa process, that's it. It's against the law. They allow that.
Well, they also asked her the question about reparations at the NABJ, and I was saying it wrong. I was saying NBJ, whatever. But they asked her about reparations, and she just reiterated, study. And I was going to play that clip. I don't need to play that clip because there's two other clips that I want to play that's more important than that. But she is word solid, and she regurgitated the same old BS that the Democrat talking points, what they do, you know, and that's a problem. In other words, when she says study, she's not going to do anything. She's not even advocating. The Congressional Black Caucus don't even advocate for even the study. So it's all bullshit. Your party, Gray, is full of shit.
So here's the thing, and I hear what everybody's saying, but do y'all truly believe unless Abraham Lincoln is coming back, no Republican is going to say, hey, let's go give Black people reparations? Like the standards that Black people are trying to hold the Democratic Party to, they would never hold the Republican Party to. Now, I've said on here before, Trump is my favorite Republican. I see the allure for the Black community, especially street guys with the criminal cases and Trump's personality. Trump has a bunch of charisma. But, I mean, I don't want a friend in the White House. I want somebody that I feel like is intelligent, is going to make smart decisions, and is going to do what's best for the country. And I feel like every time they ask Trump his economic policies, he says drill, baby, drill, and tariffs. But Kamala Harris has been held to the fire and said, oh, what policies do you have? And all Trump is running around and saying drill, baby, drill.
That's not even true. But at least he's saying that. Why she stole that from him?
That she did. Yeah. That she did. That happened.
Let me play this clip, Black voters. So that was Black men, that other clip. And this clip, it was going viral, where she should be concerned. And, you know, she is, and she has been pandering for Black votes with the Black accent. You're Black when you have a Black audience.
She introduced a new accent this week. She introduced her Spanish accent.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Can I hear
that? That was today, because she spoke at the Hispanic Congressional Caucus, because it's Hispanic Heritage Month. Yes, she did a little, you know, little Spanish, little Espanol.
She's got an accent for every outfit.
Yeah, she did the black accent over the weekend for the Phoenix Awards for the Congressional Black Caucus. So, but let me play this clip because she should be concerned.
Part of her tactic tonight. Race baiting and fear mongering was a big part of her tactic tonight.
Part of Kamala's tactic?
Yes, Kamala's tactic.
Okay. What in particular would you remember about that?
Especially when she brought up the Central Park 5. I think that's a hot button issue, especially for a lot of African Americans, but she leaves out a lot of specifics to that. Like the lead prosecutor was a Democrat at the time. Back then, Donald Trump was also a Democrat. He wasn't always a Republican, and he was praised heavily in a good way for taking out that ad in the paper because a lot of people did think that they were guilty. So a lot of people that were against Trump now were once a big fan of his, and I think he was gaslit during the entire debate, and that was probably why he was so defensive. And even when he brought up the topic of race, he brought that up because she's pandering. She's using being black as a trope to get the black vote, I'm sorry. But instead of her leaning into it, I would have liked to see her lean into the fact that, yes, I am a black woman, and this is my plan for Black America, but she clearly doesn't have a plan because she's essentially not black. But she used that as a moment to paint him as a racist.
So, oh, you're still muted.
No, I wasn't muted. My volume was low.
Oh, okay.
No, actually, I want to hear Nora.
I mean, the reality is she's going to say whatever it takes to get these votes. It's up to us to wake up and finally hold the Democrats to the fire. And I want to let everyone know that not voting is not having a voice, and that's not an option. I mean, I'm not a foundationally Black American, but if I was, I would think it's extremely important to vote in every election because just 60 years ago, Black people didn't have the right to vote. So to sit there and say, we're not going to vote, there was a reason why they didn't want us to vote. There was a reason why Black people weren't allowed to vote. They didn't want you to have a voice. So for you to sit there and say you're going to give up the voice to have this, to have reparations, I'm not saying reparations isn't important, but what I'm saying is the only way you're going to get it is by voting in people that support it. And Trump may not have a reparations plan, but he does have a plan for Black America. And honestly, it's time to send a message to the Democrats. The only way you're going to get reparations is if you vote the Democrats out. I'm telling you, because they need to see the power of the voting bloc of the Black vote. And one last thing, I know, Dana, you don't like Candace Owens, but I have to bring her up because she has a good point. And I do agree with this. This is the last election, and D. White said this. This is the last election that the Black vote is going to count if we don't vote the Democrats out. Hear me out and why I say this. They are bringing in the illegals. And in 4 years, some of those people are going to be citizens and they're going to be voting in that next block. And who do you think outnumbers the Black vote at this point?
So, more Hispanics in the United States. And Nora, I think the big question that is asked, you pretty much have a mix, the same mix as Kamala. Your mother's Jamaican, her father's Jamaican.
Somebody said, Nora, girl, bye. I hope you're a girl saying girl, bye.
That's okay, because you are going to be the reason why the Democrats are going to continue doing what they do, because you're going to continue either A, voting them in, or C, say B, I'm voting the couch. And that's not, that's not how we're going to see change.
Nora, I'm sorry, Greg, 1 second. Nora, what's more important, Nora, than voting for presidency? Is voting locally.
Voting locally, right.
Yeah, so it's like the couch is never an option. And whoever started that, I'm not going to even say Tariq Nasheed started that. It doesn't matter. With those people that's saying I'm going to sit on the couch, I look at them sideways. I don't even engage in a conversation. But go ahead, Greg.
I feel like Jamaicans are Black. They just come from a different culture. We're all from the African diaspora. So you Dominican, you whatever. We all came on ships 800 some years ago. And as far as her pandering and access and all of this, I'm self-employed, but at one point I worked in sales. At one point I was in the military. And trust me, I put my white voice on anytime that I needed it and anytime that I thought that it would get me further. So I'm on a phone call.
You have a white voice? Can I hear it?
Absolutely. hello, sir. Can we please help you? I have
That's
a
the
great
same
software
voice,
for you.
right? That's the same voice.
Listen, we have to play the game. Kamala Harris played the game the opposite way, but a lot of black people will switch it up and act a certain way in office and in the business. And then when they get on the street and get around their friends, they put on their regular hood accent or whatever state they're from. So people switch up how they talk based on who they're around. So I really don't think she should be chastised for that.
Let me say this, especially about because I made the comment about the couch. Let me say a lot of people look at it, and our political system we already know is broken. When you're telling people to vote between Democrat or Republican, for many people, it's like asking me to choose between Satan or Lucifer. That's how a lot of people look at it when it comes to it. Now, yes, voting locally is important it's important to know who your district attorney is. It's important to know who your judges are because that's a factor. It's important to know your city council persons, things of that nature. Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I actually am an independent. I left the Democratic Party earlier this year because I got upset at things going on regards to how the platform had moved since the last 20 years that I've been able to vote. I just think they've gotten away from a lot of stuff that I believed in. And I voted green. I voted third party options myself, but let's be real. Our political system is so corrupt. Those people will never get on will never get a chance to actually win an office. They won't even get a chance to get on the ballots in some states. I think it's wrong, but the laws have it set up that way. So, and as far as reparations are concerned, let me tell you why I support it. Just as I, as a lawyer, go to court, if you get injured in a car accident, you have a right to sue that person for your injuries. Now, a lot of people may look at reparations as a handout. I don't see it as that. That's something that's old because it's not just about slavery. Remember, there's a period after slavery called Jim Crow, where blacks were not allowed to vote. They also had property. Like my family had property right along the Harvey Canal. They were forced to leave by the white deputies and so forth, who just came and took it. That happened in California. So what a lot of people think was the reparations bill, that was just for slavery. No, it was also for what it really was. It was family and lineage based, what they were doing in California. Like, for instance, what happened to the family in Bruce Beach that lost their beach by the government that was just taken from them. Although, even though they got it back, they sold it back. That was part of it. But Gavin Newsom, and there you go, Dana, Gavin Newsom and the CBC out in California sold out a lot of the black locals that were there who have supported them. So I think that's going to have a great effect. And they even said it, one of their leaders said it, in the national vote and in the local votes. I think Trump made a mistake too on this part, Dana. Trump, from what I hear, hasn't been campaigning that much in California. He missed a grave opportunity to try and do that and recreate what Ronald Reagan did 40 years ago, because when he ran against Walter Mondale, he had California, and that's traditionally a blue state.
Yeah, well, California will only help him if he's promoting someone's running for Congress. It's not going to turn red definitely not this election cycle. So why waste your resources and money? Unless he's going to, I would say this is a good idea for him to promote someone congressionally, locally, who's a Republican, but for him, not so much, because it's still going to turn blue. I want to play this.
Got people leaving California though too.
I know, but not enough. But it's not enough to shift the numbers for presidential Republican. I want to play this other clip because this clip here is this guy Boykin, I think that's his name, talking about how white people vote versus black people voting.
Obviously, when we have this discussion, I never really talk about this because it's not politically correct to say it, but he's in a dead hit because of white people. I mean, the majority of white people support Donald Trump, and they supported him in 2016, they supported him in 2020, and they'll probably support him in 2024. If it were up to black people, or Latinos, and Asian Americans, and other people of color, he would lose in a landslide.
But Keith, to be fair, Keith, is gaining amongst African American men and Hispanics.
But it's still about white dominance.
I understand
it's
that,
still about white dominance.
you know, he's an elite because he protects and projects the idea of protecting white supremacy, and that's what they're that's what resonates with me. People were talking about economic anxiety in 2016, and then Trump went off and he led a cavalcade of racism.
I'll ask you this question.
He's
not even serious.
If that is your,
if
that is your theory,
I'm 100% sure.
If that's your theory, Keith,
Yes.
then to answer what Urban is asking, why then is Trump improving with voters of color?
He's not improving with voters of color.
Yes,
No, he's not improving. No, I'm sorry. He's not improving with
He has more support than Republicans in the past with both Hispanics and black people.
I understand that he has done better than other candidates have done.
He improved on his 2016 performance in 2020, and the polls suggest that he's improving now. So even if you go by 2016 and 2020, then
the Washington Post Ipsos poll that came out today said that he's actually losing support in the black vote.
But New York Times said the opposite.
And he's actually, and Kamala Harris is gaining support. The third-party candidates are declining in their support. So, you know,
Brian's disagreeing with you. You know it's bad.
He's clearly growing support.
No, and
but it's not just about white dominance. It's about male dominance.
I don't think most people will be surprised if Donald Trump does better with Latinos and blacks than he did in 2016 than he did in 2020. Listen, what do I hear? I hear people tell me that they like how they like his mouth. Some people, what turns me off turns some people on. They think he's being authentic. They think he's being unfiltered. They think he's tough.
True.
They think he stands up for what he believes. So it antagonizes most Latinos. It antagonizes most African Americans. But certainly there's some people for whom it appeals.
And that's exactly my point, though. What I was trying to get at is that, yes, there are a significant number of people of color who support Donald Trump, but that's still a small minority, especially in the black community. You're talking about 85 to 90% of black people will support Kamala Harris. That even among black men, so the idea that somehow Donald Trump is winning large numbers.
It's the same issue we were talking about with RFK. When you're talking
I agree with you on that. The margins are very important.
The swing states where Latinos are, 5-6% in Georgia. They're 5-6%
I totally understand.
in Pennsylvania,
I get that.
Michigan.
I'm not saying that can't make the difference. I'm just saying that we're misrepresenting who these communities are. To pick a few unrepresented black men and say, oh, well, black men are supporting Donald Trump, when 85 to 90% of black men are supporting Kamala Harris, is completely misleading.
I think that's very dismissive of black men.
To be clear, we didn't say that at this table.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying in general.
But I think Anna's point is correct that there is, even if it's a slight movement,
it only takes a few to
movement
make a huge difference.
It only takes a few.
Exactly.
Okay,
I just want to say, in addition to white dominance, it's also about preserving the status of men. And we should interrogate what is it that appeals. I'm not perfect. I learned some of this stuff since I was 5 or 6 years old. Men in this society are in a very interesting place right now with what the messaging is from the Trump campaign. And I just think that's worth interrogating.
All right, everyone, stick with us because coming up next.
What a joke. Fake news. This is why we started our podcast.
She's lying.
80 to 90% of black men are supporting Kamala Harris. The only black man I personally know that's supporting Kamala Harris is Gray.
Listen, I will say that guy is wrong because there are a lot of black guys around me that are supporting Trump. And I'm going to say this. There are certain type of black guys, which I'm actually happy Trump has got these guys actually interested in politics. I don't know what type of black guys Nora's around, but the guys that I'm talking about are guys that probably will never talk about politics. I never knew anything about it. So I'm happy, even as a black person, that they're involved. So, I mean, I tell people all the time that, hey, you know what I'm saying, I'd rather you be into politics, even though you may not be voting for the person I'm voting for. I'm glad Trump has appealed to black men to get them more involved in politics, and the certain type of people that are now involved in politics. Guys with backgrounds, and they seen Trump do the First Step Act, and now they look at him as like, oh, he's like me. he done got a RICO case and all this stuff, which I appreciate. But I'm not voting for him, but I appreciate that a lot of guys are into politics now, black men.
Well, let me say this. I know other black men and black people that are going to vote for Kamala, and they're usually 65 and up, especially when they come from that era of the 60s and 70s, and they believe in that vote blue no matter who thing. I know family members that are going to vote for them. I also know a lot of intelligent. I also know.
Wait a minute, let me see this real quick. So Money Mike, first of all, he said can't stand this dude Mars. I'm out. You're not going nowhere. You're watching. That's why I do like Nora. I have favoritism. I like Nora the best. I told her this earlier. But however, when Gray talk, people be tuning in just to see what other craziness he's going to say. So it helps the algorithm.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, differences of opinions are good. If everybody was thinking the same, something was a problem. But I was saying, I also know a lot of people who are intelligent, black men who are intelligent, who are successful, wealthy, fellow attorneys like Brother Dennis Spurd and others who have supported Trump in the past. And the reason why is because, first off, they think of it from a business standpoint. The other thing, too, is they've become dissatisfied with the choices that the Democratic parties have made and their platform. As an independent, I got frustrated by some of the things I was seeing, and I just didn't want to be involved. I don't believe in voting for someone, and this is the point what I made earlier about the couch, just voting either because of history or doing this because this is a reason to it. Our ancestors fought. Our ancestors did fight for the right to vote, but they also fought for you the right to have property on land, to be happy, to have a life. They didn't fight for you to be the whipping boy for one political party. That's not what they fought for. They didn't fight for, and that goes both ways. They didn't fight for me just to be a Republican, and they didn't fight for me just to be a Democrat. They fought for us to be independent, to be men and women. And
I have an idea because that comment I just put up. Gray, you need to go on Roland Martin platform.
Can you work that out for me, Dana? I don't know if he'll talk to you.
I don't know him, and if he have a whiff of my platform because of the judge, he ain't messing with me. But
doughboy.
Right, but I don't know. I wonder if I know someone that know him. But if I know someone that know him, I'll send it your way to your way and reach out. Don't be letting nobody beat up on Nora, honey, because Nora don't cuss people out.
No, I would cuss him out though. I really don't like Roland Martin. I think he is destroying the black community. I think he's one of the people that's getting that check from Kamala Harris, and he's spreading, I don't want to say lies, but their agenda, their propaganda. Mm-hmm. And I don't like him because he's on their payroll for sure.
Right. Oh, definitely.
Let me just say, can I say this about Roland Martin? I've actually met Roland Martin personally. My father and I back at Essence Fest 2012. The dude's a jerk. Just look at how he talks to his staff. He talked to a grown man after the Biden-Trump first debate, and the guy was talking about how Biden should step down, let Harris come over, and he kept cutting him off. And the dude is older than Roland Martin. That ain't fun. That ain't happening. Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Porky Pig. I don't like the guy. You could go. The guy's a jerk, and I've been blocked by him because I called him out on stuff. The guy's a jerk. Look at what happened when he went to Chicago and a brother confronted him. You talked all that stuff.
Oh yeah, that was just pure. That was pure nigga shit. But let me just say this, because I want to go into the illegal immigration video real quick. Let me just say this about black voters voting for Trump, specifically Trump. See, we haven't even talked about locally, and people don't want to talk about locally, and that's more important than the presidency. However, there is a large number increase of black people voting for President Donald Trump than ever before. And so that guy in the video, he was trying to say, well, still 80 to 90%, it doesn't matter. A lot of times you only need 5 or 10% increase of a particular group to help you win an election. I'm not worried about the 80%. You should be worried about that 10, 15, 20%. and Black men are leading the charge, switching over. Because Trump does have a plan specifically for Black men. And if they didn't vote for Trump in 2016 when he was president, by the end of his presidency, they made a lot of money. And they're not, such as myself, I'm not including COVID because no one could see that coming. And it is what it is. No one can control it or stop it. But prior to that, I'm like, I voted for him in 2020 because I wanted to keep that momentum going. So Black men are going to vote for Trump because of economics, first and foremost. And let's segue into the illegal migrants. The illegal migrants are a problem. So my question is illegal immigration the biggest problem we face? Now, before you guys answer that, I want to play this clip. And I'm going to reach out to this young woman. She's a journalist, and see if she come on my platform here because she was spot on.
Illegal immigration and utilizing our tax dollars and our resources to fund and support illegal immigrants. I'm not talking about people who came here with papers. I'm talking about illegal immigrants, 11 million that have crossed, 11 million and counting, that have crossed the border since Biden and Harris. I'm talking about the resources of tax dollars that have gone from American citizens to support their housing, to support getting them food. I do not believe that we as Americans, specifically Black Americans that are descendants of slavery, should have our tax dollars utilized for illegal immigrants that have come to this country without going through the proper immigration process that we have, and get our money and get funded and get $9,000+ in Chicago for rent, and be able to get more money in food stamps and SNAP and TANF and all of these benefits, and be able to utilize our tax dollars to get free legal service. That's happening right in Indianapolis, in my own city. Absolutely not. One, the first step to making America not a sovereign nation is to bust open our borders like a bag of chips. I think that that is completely wrong. Two, I think it's also completely wrong for us to basically, it feels like you're abandoning the citizens and supporting the illegal immigrants.
If you want to assess Donald Trump as a failure, his fundamental policy proposal that he ran on was to build a wall. So whenever we hear this racist, sexist foolishness from him, we should be very clear that the fundamental thing he said he would get done when he talked about Mexican committing rapists and all these other things was that he would build a wall. Didn't happen. The rhetoric right now around immigration that he's trying to highlight is a framing of what? That our cities are getting worse, even though everything from an economic standpoint, in terms of growth, in terms of cost of living, what's happening in your pockets have actually gotten better. We have better growth in our communities by actually helping our immigrant brothers and sisters. The data actually to the immigration question is, how are we making this a policy substantive conversation rather than a rhetoric?
All right, so I totally disagree with that man. They are making it worse. They are putting the illegal migrants in poor cities, sanctuary cities, Black cities, taking low-wage jobs. 70% of Black adults make $37,000 or less a year. Those are Black jobs, hashtag Black jobs, and they're a majority in low wage, which means they're going to be the first ones to be replaced by the illegals. Real quick, Street Media, hi, introduce yourself.
How y'all doing? Everybody on the panel, Street Media TV, George Macon.
It's been forever. I stopped asking you, George, like ever since last year, because you've been always busy.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to have you on the panel tonight. So I want to get you guys' reaction to that video clip. I'm gonna start with you, George, and then everybody else, jump in.
With this subject, I'm here in Philly, right? And they talk about Chicago, New York City, but they're not talking about Philadelphia. I'm talking about, man, listen, I can show you. I was with my wife. This is right here is an image of them having their little thing in South Philly. They're not coming over here broke. They coming over here with cars, money, cartels. I'm talking about, this is in South Philly, down on Broad Street. They was like, I'm talking about, it was thousands of them. They just came out, right? And the thing is, you have some of them that come and they work on your houses, the Guatemalans and stuff like that. But no, when you down South Philly now, down by the waterfront, they ain't that's not the ones that come work on your house. These the ones playing Mexican drill rap. They got the low rider cars. I'm like, yo, wait a minute. These ain't the immigrants they said it was. Like, where these people coming from? And like around the corner from my house, where the kids used to play in the playground, they done took the whole playground over. Like and on the East Coast, we didn't see no Mexicans. It was blacks and Puerto Ricans. Now it's Mexicans and Guatemala. They everywhere. Right? I'm talking about everywhere. So my thing is, when I hear these conversations now, I don't really talk about the Republican Party because our community never supported them for the last 60 years. They're irrelevant to me. The argument is towards the Democratic Party. And the younger people now, they're starting this younger generation is asking questions. And the Democrats is not used to the younger people asking questions. They're asking, why is the same buildings all dilapidated? Why are we being gentrified out of our communities? You want us to go vote, but the communities, we can't even afford to live here no more. So I don't think that we even got a right to bring an argument to the Republicans because we haven't supported them. Our argument is to the Democrats. So that's just my take on it.
I think the younger people are asking questions because of technology and social media, because we would have never known that these people are getting these resources, I feel, if it wasn't for social media and people using the power of their phone to film and speak out against these things. But to answer your question, I do agree. In Florida, we're very blessed because although we do have a big melting pot here, we've kind of been I want to say protected from the mass migration because our governor has pretty much shipped them out of state. And I know it was a very controversial thing that he did at the time, but I'm grateful for it because we don't have these issues here. I mean, we already are a melting pot, but at the same time, we're not taking a large group of these migrants in like Ohio and Philadelphia. But I do think it's a national security issue. Number one, these people that are coming in, they're not being vetted. They're not going through the proper protocol to wait their turn to come in. So we really don't know who these people are. And number two, it's taking away resources, like Street Media said, that could be going to American citizens.
Well, the younger people here, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think in 2016, a brief history lesson here, when Trump went on stage and he's called Mexicans R's and killers and all this stuff, the Republican agenda normally, if you go back to when Roger Stone, who was actually one of Trump's strategists, when he was with Richard Nixon, he said, hey, you can't call these guys an N-word anymore. You got to call them criminals. The Republican agenda was normally to go after black people to try to get the white vote out. So Trump changed the strategy with Republicans to target Hispanics. And basically, I think this is a bipartisan issue. But to all the black people out there, and as Dana pointed out, the average amount of income is $37,000. Let's change the low income and let's make the black jobs doctors, lawyers, scientists, politicians, CEOs. Let's get a black Elon Musk. Let's get a black Jeff Bezos. Let's change the identity, what it means to be a black job.
Okay.
But my question to that is, like, I hear that me, a person that actually work with children every day, that's to me, that's like crazy talk, and respectfully, because being black in one of the blackest cities in America, that's been heavily democratic. That's not what they push. Most of these so-called black elites that come around every election time, they're not accessible. Young black kids don't see these people. They're not the ones coming back to help redevelop the kids at all. And then when it's election time, they come around with this kind of talk. But in Philadelphia, when we was averaging 600 homicides for the last four years, none of them was around. The people on the ground that's asking the questions, when we ask questions now, oh, you must vote for Trump. No, Trump is irrelevant to me. I'm asking, my mama took me down and told me to vote Democrat since I was a child. So when we asking these questions and we're saying, wait a minute, these policies, the same thing they did in 1980, when they had the largest immigration in the history of America, you see the same playbook being ran again. And right after 1980, four years later, you come into the crack era. You had all these infusions of all these Jamaicans and Mexicans and all these people. It's the same thing over again. And we sitting there, those of us that know better, we're going to sit here and watch it. I'm not trying to hear none of that Democratic jargon no more. If you don't have something specific for us, y'all had y'all time. There's no way that anybody that's supporting the Democratic Party can come up here and tell anybody with some sense that's from the black community, well, we just need to go vote here. My grandma didn't die or fight just for us to have a right to vote. They had an agenda. The civil rights movement and all those different movements had an agenda behind it that was supposed to be specifically for us. Y'all going around now talking about people of color. My grandma may never mention no goddamn people of color. So y'all are very disrespectful to the people that was there before us. Any of y'all that even mentioned that people of color, man, I don't respect none of y'all because y'all don't respect our elders because that's not what they fought for. All those federal laws that's on the books that were supposed to be for us, y'all done sold it out.
Street media TV. Go ahead, Gavin. My bad.
Yeah. Let me just say first off to the brother from Philadelphia, Street Media, unrelated to the conversation. I just want to say he was born in Philadelphia, but Frankie Beverly belongs to New Orleans. I just want to point that out.
Let's table that to the end.
Light in the mood, but let's get light in the mood. But let me just say that I just wanted to point that for the record. But let me say this to what the brother and really what he is saying. I agree with Dr. Claude Anderson. Gray, you mentioned something about where we want the black Elon Musk and so forth. We've had, and I'm sure you know, black millionaires and billionaires. We have black billionaires currently. One, the brother who and his name escapes me, but he was the brother that paid for the Morehouse College students' tuition that graduated that year. There have been black billionaires and millionaires we've had before, black businesses, black business owners. The thing that has happened, of course, sometimes, and what we fail to do is keep that legacy going and pass down to our children. You know, you look at, for instance, we talk about the world of music. Thank you. Someone said the name, Robert Smith. You know, Town Records. Barry Gordy had a legacy with that. He ends up selling it. Def Jam, which was Russell Simmons had in part. That's sold. You know, Ebony and Jet magazine, which is black press, something that was very important to us. You know, that was been sold off. So we've had these things in place. We've had, you know, people like Dr. Claude Anderson who laid out platforms and telling people in different cities, hey, why don't you black men, black women own your own businesses, have your own gas companies and gas stations in your neighborhood. If you look at Detroit, I'm giving you an example with that. In his book, he talked about how Detroit was, which is predominantly area was 90% black or so forth, and only less than 1% Arabs from the Middle East, yet they owned 90% or controlled 90% of the gas stations in the city. So the point that I'm making with that is we don't ever get together. We don't have, to what the brother's saying, we don't have any generational legacy that's being passed down to our children, and they're suffering as a result of it. Because if you look at whites, especially the history of racism in this country, the wealthiest families, you still hear the name Ford. You still hear the name Rockefeller, Rothschild, DuPonts, all of these families that have passed money, old money, down to the next generation. And that's what rotates, you know, sadly, that's what makes the world go around is money. That's what moves things. If you can't go anywhere, you can't travel without money, you can't eat. So we got to learn not only to have these black billionaires and millionaires, which we obviously can get, but we also got to know how we can help create the next generation and move on, and how they can give back. And give back may not necessarily mean just giving their monies, but helping at least the other ones step up and realize to take over when they're old and gone and can't do it anymore.
Nora, you want to say something? Because some people in the chat saying Nora don't ever talk. Let Nora talk, as if we keeping Nora quiet.
Oh no, I mean, I said what I had to say about it. I'm agreeing with that. Everyone has really good points, and I understand street media where you're coming from. I totally get that. We need to respect and be reverent to the past generations, but we got to work together. I mean, that's really the moral of this, and I'm in agreement with you that it's time to get off the plantation.
Also, because that, you know, when I have these panels or whatever, and just the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about, you know, Republican versus Democrat or Kamala versus Trump. But to Gray and street media point, we need to start talking about the history of the Democrat Party then, civil rights movement then, and now, you know, and their flaws. Like, how about, you know, maybe eventually just dedicate, whether it's an hour, deconstructing the Democrat Party. You know, forget comparing Harris and Trump or Republican and Democrat. Let's talk about, especially on a local level, because which me and Nora, you know, we were saying earlier, we both agree what's more important is voting locally. There's no sitting on a couch. But a lot of places, when you go down ballot and you see who else is on that ballot, where you live at, particularly Black people, they're all going to be Democrats voting for these different political office positions. Now, there's some good, there's some bad. So I think it's time that we need to deconstruct the Democrat Party and stop comparing it to the Republican, because Republicans locally is not where Black people live out, or even poor people, and a lot of times even Hispanics. So I think that's a good conversation to have, especially Gray. You know, I would want your input on that, because you're never leaving the Democrat plantation. You are happy.
Absolutely. And so I live in Florida. Florida's a very red state. And if you look at down ballot, there's not much Black representation. I do feel like down ballot votes are extremely important, and the amendments, you know, abortion and legalizing marijuana is on the ballot here in Florida. So I think those things are important. And to street media TV, you know, your grandparents and the generations before, yes, they fought for the rights to vote and everything. But due to the Democratic Party is the reason that we're even having a conversation that a Black man can be a Republican. If it wasn't for the Democratic Party and what they did, Lyndon B. Johnson, Martin Luther King, if it wasn't for the things that they did, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So I would have to say, since then, the Democratic Party has put a Black man in office as president, and is now trying to put a Black woman in office as president. And that representation alone, I think, solves a lot of problems as far as racism and as far as people having a symbol in the Black community saying, okay, if she can do it, if he can do it, I can do it. And I'll give a story right here. I don't know the gentleman's name, but he was the fastest man in the world. He broke the record. And when he broke the record, then somebody else came behind and broke the record. So there are, and to Gavin's point, saying that there are some successful Black people. Yes, Gavin, there are a lot of successful Black people, but when you look at math and science and the tech industry, you don't see a lot of entrepreneurs that are of African American descent or any descent from African diaspora. So we need to basically be more into education, less into sports and entertainment, and be like these other cultures.
Well, let's table that for next week, Wednesday, because I do want to get in more about, because I said it Wednesday is designated for illegal migrants, but I want to go further into have like a part 2, like the second hour, deconstructing the Democrat Party, because I think that's very important. And so if you have time, George, next week, Wednesday, I'll text you to remind you. I want to get to these super chats before we get up out of here. Thank you, Lisa Jackson. Cassie was on the books of Bad Boy. That's why she won. Employee. That makes sense.
Right.
Dub Well, it's a RICO. More names are coming, and Diddy is going to sing. I think so. I would. Yeah. Yes. Walter, unless they threaten him or threaten his family. Walter Wilborn, thank you so much. Vote Love USA. Vote Trump to prevent your own replacement by Kamala's 30 million illegals. After 2024, you can vote whoever you want, but in 2024, you will have to vote Trump. Otherwise, you will be replaced by illegals. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm sorry, Gray, you cannot argue with that at all. You cannot, because it's like you got to look at it where these people are going to be placed at, you know, where they're going to work at. So they're literally breaking the system in some of these cities. 7 and Gray sound like he got a mouthful of noun laters. And Dana, I use coconut oil instead of baby oil. Okay, thank you. Freedom. It's disgusting what the Liberal Party has done to all Black Americans for many decades. It's a no-brainer, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Love USA again. 2024 is existential year. I hope I said it right for Black Americans. If Kamala wins, she will give a mass amnesty to 30 to 40 million illegals in this country. Black Americans' votes won't matter anymore. You are being replaced. I agree. You have to ease up on my boy Gray. Oh, that's D White. First of all, you MIA tonight. So you should have been here defending him, even though when you are on the panel, you're throwing him under the bus still, D White. And we actually, everyone up here is not gaining up on Gray. It's really the chat. Freedom. The illegals are a national security risk at the highest level. A lot more than 11 million at the very minimum is 20 million. What has Trump said that is racist to anyone? Freaking straight up lies. Freedom again. The only way Harris can win is cheating and a massive election fraud, just like in 2020. And that was no insurrection in 2020. What laughter. What a laughter. We need tangibles, not symbolic-ish, Mr. Gray. And this is not a super chat, but Buck says, hey, Dana, is that lady Nora taken? I believe she's married, Buck.
She's single.
No, I'm
she's
not
single.
married.
Oh, you're not?
No.
Okay, she's single. Excuse me. And Crypto was saying earlier, Nora speaks. Fine, yeah. Thank you. Especially if he's married. Okay. Because no, I didn't want to say that. Oh yeah, and Reese, you were a troll earlier. He didn't lie about nothing. People just want to complain about something. Listen, thank you guys. Thank you, George, for hopping on. I know it was last minute, but I definitely want to have you come back next week, Wednesday. And all of you guys come back next week, Wednesday. And I want to go dive deeper and focus on the illegal migrants and how it's affecting in each areas, because we all live in different states. And then two, I want us to deconstruct the Democrat Party. Are you down for that, George?
Yeah, that's important. Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this, right? And like I said, I'm in Philadelphia, one of the blackest cities in America, which was probably one of the richest history of black people in America, coming from the South to the North. The first Black Renaissance was Philadelphia, before you had the Harlem Renaissance, right? From 1941 to 1952 was the last time we had a Republican mayor. Since 1970 until now, we've had over 4,500 homicides in this city, all under the Democratic Party, right? When I make the statement that I don't care about Trump, my argument is towards the Democrats, because I've been raised in a black city where we religiously supported the Democratic Party. I'm watching, and I think it's insulting when black people tell us, right, especially those of us that live in black cities, we've been gentrified out of our communities. We don't have Republican people, right? We have to start looking at 50 years of history and where are we? Where did we start from and where are we? It's imperative that we do that. And for us to not want to do that, I got to question some of y'all, like who paying y'all? Because this is crazy. So I'm not being disrespectful, but I talk passionate, because where I come from, like, it's horrible out here in these communities, right? And lastly, I'll say, no, the Democrats didn't give us, we didn't have the right to vote through them. It was our resiliency. We had executive orders that's been on the books and laws that's been on the books since 1875. The Republican Party and the Democratic Party never enforced it. So state law was able to oppress us. That's where your Jim Crow, because there shouldn't have never been a Jim Crow based off the federal laws that was on the books. And the Democratic Party sat by and watched that. So like when we have these conversations, we got to know what we're talking about. And the sad part is when some of us ask questions, y'all talk to us as if we're not studying, like we don't know what we're talking about. I got kids. I have to know what I'm talking about. I live in a black city. So I don't want to talk about the Republicans. I want to talk about a reassessment of us under the Democratic Party since 1970 up until now. In Detroit, Philadelphia, Chicago, all these cities. That's what we should be talking about.
And if I could just say just one quick thing for the record, Brother Gray, you do know that in the 1800s, the Republican Party was created to fight the expansion of slavery. And there were black Republican senators and congressmen during Reconstruction who were Republican. The Democrats were the ones that were against that. You are aware of that, right, brother?
Yes, Gavin. Abraham Lincoln is my favorite president of all time. I mean, he freed the slaves. So I know there was a party switch around the time of Franklin D. Roosevelt with the New Deal. And Street Media TV, I think your name was George. I know, I feel like he was talking to me. But
I'm talking to all Democrats that talk that way, not just you, my brother. All of them. Listen, it's in my family. My aunties and them talk like you.
Of course. So, but I'm gonna say this because I mean, I listen to rap, so I see a lot of the, the hood politics, on YouTube.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
What do you mean?
Because you said, listen to what I'm saying. I don't even think that you believe is disrespectful, but listen, hear me out. Yeah. When you use that type of jargon and hood politics in the conversation we have it now, it's actually insulting, as if we don't have intelligence enough to be on the level that y'all are to speak. We got eyes, we can read. We can come from the hood. We can read. We're urban nerds, my brother. So like when we're having those type of conversations and y'all disagree, to use the term hood politics is actually disrespectful to us.
What I'm saying is this: with law enforcement, right? Law enforcement isn't proactive; they're reactive. So you're saying like people get murdered. So the law enforcement can't go out there and like get people preemptively. A crime has to be committed. Gavin's a lawyer; he maybe can expand on this. A crime has to be committed, and then they react. And you said it's just these big black cities, Chicago, Philadelphia.
You missed my point, though, my brother. You missed the point I was saying. What I was saying was, the point of what I was saying was not the point you're making. Since 1970, since 1952 in Philadelphia, we've been under Democratic rule. What I'm saying is we need to do a reassessment, because in these cities, like I said, there's been over 4,500 homicides. We're being gentrified out under the leadership of the Democratic Party. I don't even want to talk about Republicans because we was never taught to support them. The Republicans don't come to my community. This is a Democratic city. So what I'm saying is when we finally stand up and say, wait a minute, listen, Mom, I got some questions. You can't say, well, that's hood stuff. You have to answer the questions.
Well, see, let me say this, and I want to start ending the show now. Because Nora and Gray, you guys are in Florida. You guys don't really see a lot of influx of illegals right now.
No. And that's a good point, because my mom is a Democrat and she's very upset that I'm voting for Trump. But what I explained to her is we live in a red state, in a red county. We're not being affected by this. I will say shouts out to Philadelphia. My son's father lives up there and I was up there, and the migrant and New Jersey, Philadelphia, he serves in the military. But anyways, the migrant crisis is rough up there. So I know you guys are really feeling it. We're not feeling it like that here in Florida. We don't have these cards being given out to people. So I think I love Gray, but I think we're not being impacted by it. That's the difference.
So it's a different type of commentary because George is experiencing firsthand. I'm in Ohio. I am kind of like in a blue city, but this is a red state. Yeah. And I'm sorry, let me say this. You could be in certain blue cities to where they are pro-Kamala and pro-open border, but they don't want them in their community. And these are white liberals. So I'm in that part of the blue area, which is amazing because they got the Harris, Waltz signs in their lawn. I do want to get a Trump sign, but my father, he voting for Harris, so he probably get upset. But I love it when I walk my dog and he walk on someone's lawn and he pisses on the Harris Waltz sign, and my camera is never camera ready to take a screenshot because he does it just out the blue. But one day I'm gonna catch him and I'm gonna take a picture. But every time he do, I was like, "Good dog." He literally he goes on the lawn, he walks because he likes to sniff the grass, and I guess he likes to pee with signs and fire hydrants and poles, and he lifts his leg up and pee right on the sign, and I love it. So, but these people here, they're voting so liberal and blue, they don't want the illegals in their neighborhood. So it's a difference talking to someone who literally experiencing it in your kid's school, in your neighborhood, as opposed to people who are voting blue, or or even live in a Democrat city, but you're in a red state and you don't experience it firsthand. It's a different type of thing. So it's good conversation. So I definitely want us to continue this next week, Wednesday. I would love to have all you guys back if you're available. I did put the links to the new party YouTube channel, guys. Please go and subscribe, and go and subscribe to Gavin's YouTube channel. That's GBoot 2788. And so, yeah, and then George, Street Media, that's at Street Media TV. And I want to start incorporating a little bit more, George, because you've kind of been MIA. But next week, talk about your organization that you have going on. That's been going on for a while, and I think you're doing great things. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you guys coming on tonight. Everybody on X, appreciate you. Everybody that sent in a donation, I love you the most. All my moderators, Catalia, Southern Belle, everybody in the chat, please like, please share this video, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, and make sure you hit the bell button to get all notifications. And I will see you tomorrow on Man Up Thursday with Judge Joe Brown, but the Dana with the Data podcast will be back live next week, Wednesday. And then we're doing another watch party for the VP debate, and that's October the 1st, right? That's on a Tuesday. Yeah. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me on, Dana. Maybe next time we could get some collard greens from Kamala out of her bathtub.
No, thank you. Absolutely not.
And it was nice meeting you, George and Gavin.
Nice
George, I
meeting
know
you
we
too,
got
bro.
into it, but
Nice
hey,
meeting.
brother, nice meeting you.
All right, y'all. Peace.
All right.
All right, for sure.
All right.
Good night, y'all.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. That was a good discussion. Migrant crisis is always a touchy topic, but I want to keep talking about it because it's very important. And we need to just be aware of how it's affecting us. So again, thank you for tuning in to another Dana with the Data podcast. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.